morning. Love is patient, kind, and not resentful. Beautiful piece of music that is very enduring, it has to be said, and very appropriate as our introductory signature tune here for our Chatechesis this morning. Good morning and welcome. Nice to have your company here. And we're working on our set here all the time, surrounded by gadgets here and lights and all kinds of things. And the hope and intention is indeed to enhance our visual presence here on this Chatechesis moment and other moments, of course, here for you. It's just the trend and the way things are going on the internet that the visual side of things needs to be attended to and draws people in. So it's all about preaching the gospel. So if you'd like to watch in here on Facebook and on YouTube, you'd be very welcome to accompany me here for this morning's Chatechesis and to share with me as well. I do like to get your text messages and your phone calls with your own comments and observances and observations, that's the correct word, and just to help the conversation along a little bit here. So please do text in 089 467 2000 plus 353 89 467 2000, and you can text WhatsApp on that number. You can phone. Glad to pick up the phone. Martina and Mary Thomas is downstairs. We have a number of gallant volunteers in the building, so please do phone up 014 123456 014 123456. We would love to hear from you. Now looking forward to Rafaelle Galati joining me here as part of our Chatechesis today to share with you news from the world family of Radio Maria. That's always a nice moment to see what's going on around the world. A couple of messages that have come in by phone just to address today. Anne phoned in. She says, I'm an elderly person and I just wanted to ring to say that I'm not comfortable with the way that some would like the church to take. I think that's in reference to the conversation we were having yesterday about the synod and some of the opinions that are being expressed. And I suppose that's all it really is at this stage. It's a conversation that's been had with a certain number of people and that has been excuse me, reported back via the various diocesan offices and put together as reports there in relation to the conversation about the church and the idea of synod again meaning journey, that it doesn't end there and the conversation needs to really tackle what the issues are. But indeed, and I can echo with you and share with you the same sort of sentiment. If it is just a discussion group, and if it is just ending only in shaping things the way the current mood or opinions happen to fall, then we're certainly not on a safe path, I would suggest. And as I was echoing yesterday for you, we hold fast to Jesus Christ as the foundation on which the church is built, the pillars, St. Peter and Paul, and the threefold magisterium, sacred scripture, and tradition that it is our church, going right back to Christ himself. That it's not about opinion. Jesus didn't take opinion polls. He asked, who do you say I am? And that must always be the heart of each of these conversations. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So it is that indeed, and you're right to give expression to that. She says, and I'm sure many would agree with you, Anne, she's not very happy about the way Ireland is going also. Things are really changing at quite a rapid pace. Excuse me, and a lot of the former kind of bearings, I suppose, that we enjoyed seem to have broken loose a little bit. And it leaves for questions and leaves one wondering and what ifs and exactly where is Ireland going. Certainly we're seeing a lot of moral decay and spiritual decay, which is not a trend that, you know, is leading to the happiness that people might like to think it would bring. You know, this idea of throwing off the shackles of religion. This is the way it's sometimes caricatured, which is completely unfair because religion doesn't shackle us. It frees us to be the best version of ourselves, to be, you know, at the service of others, and to express love, ask forgiveness, and to seek the good, especially the poor and the vulnerable. That's what faith brings to it, and that's what the faith of our fathers has brought to the church and to the world. with the huge missionary outpouring that there has been from Ireland in the past. So, none of this can be eliminated from the conversation. Sure, there have been bad elements, and we lament and express sorrow and seek to make reparation for serious crimes and sins committed. But we are weak and vulnerable. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And just because a member of the family happens to go off track or off the rails doesn't mean the family should disband and give up and throw in the towel. The very opposite, in fact. Rather, that the family gathers round and supports the weak and the vulnerable and seeks to put them back on the right way. And a final sentence there that Anne has shared too, that one of the biggest issues for her that she finds difficult, the amount of people who take the Lord's name in vain. And that is so lamentable and so true. And in Ireland, you kind of know when you arrive back at the airport, that's I've had experience many times, when you hear the language and especially the abuse of the holy name of Jesus. Every time you hear the holy name, this has always been my suggestion and my practice, that when we hear that name taken in vain, we pause internally. We bow our heads internally, so to speak, and we turn it into a little prayer. Jesus, have mercy on me, a sinner. Be a lovely way of turning that around a little bit when we hear the name of Christ. Christ, hear us. Christ, graciously hear us. And to ask sorrow in a way, to make that little prayer moment. But you're right, Anne, I think many would agree with you, but we will keep that conversation flowing here, and what we seek to do, Radio Maria, is continue praying, continue forming, continue grappling with the questions of our time, and always, always, always bring it to the light of Christ and the light of our faith. Susan rang in as well, so thank you very much, Susan, that she's worried and upset. This is another issue as well, and I hope this has come to some of the synodal conversations, and should, most certainly, over the way that some people receive Holy Communion. And she has noticed that some she has seen proceed back down to their seat without having consumed Holy Communion, and that it's not unusual to find a host on the floor or a host cast aside somewhere, a sacred host. And this is a lamentable sacrilege and a very grave abuse of Christ in the Most Holy Eucharist, and gravely sinful, objectively speaking. There does seem to be a need for huge catechesis and formation and constant reminder to people in the question of reverence when it comes to receiving Holy Communion. And especially as the mandate to receive Holy Communion on the hand, I think hasn't, as far as I know or understand, hasn't been yet lifted. And yet, you see, receiving on the tongue is a way that eliminates all, many of the abuses of that kind. What I've noticed, and I've travelled around the country quite a lot now with the work of Radio Maria, it doesn't happen frequently, but I do see it. Those who receive Holy Communion on the hand, they may close their hand or cover their hand and walk away. And I'm left asking myself, should I chase after them and make a little bit of a scene and embarrass everyone? Rather, it should be better if I could preempt that, and priests too, and help me out here, all you priests, and ask your priests, maybe make a very gentle approach to your priests to suggest that they just instruct people again as to how to receive. That if it is they receive on the hand, they do so with the appropriate gesture, one hand under the other, the hand flat and ready to receive, and then to step to the side, or don't step to the side, and place the host into one's mouth immediately, without any ambiguity or any question mark or any sense of disregard or disrespect towards the Blessed Sacrament, and always to look into the hand to see if there are any fragments there that should be gathered up. And maybe it is, Susan, that we priests are wanting in instructing the faithful as to how they are to come and receive Holy Communion, and it should be a regular part of instruction. The other beautiful thing, excuse me, the other beautiful thing that should be encouraged is an act of reverence which is demanded of us before Holy Communion. If it is we're not able to kneel, or it's not encouraged or fostered there, rather it should be the case that those who come to receive make a bow, even a genuflection or some act of reverence before they come to receive the Holy Eucharist. Again, that's cultivating that sense of reverence and respect for the Blessed Sacrament. So it is lamentable. It is lamentable. So can I suggest, like, she wants the bishops to address the issue? Well, I could if the bishops do so, but again, just because a bishop speaks out in that way, it doesn't always trickle down to where it's needed to be heard. So if I could suggest for all of you listening and all of you watching to play your part as a layperson, to receive the Blessed Sacrament with great reverence and show great example to others in the way you do so. That would be a first suggestion by way of a grassroots kind of response. And then I'd say, if you're in conversation with your local priest, just make a gentle approach and say, Father, you know, I've witnessed this, I've seen this, and this is a little troubling. Can you please instruct the people how to properly receive Holy Communion? So maybe that would be a way to respond to that too. So now I'm going to take a pause for a little piece of music. So we're going to have Rafaelle Galati going to join us very shortly. So we thought with the World Youth Day coming up in 2023 in Portugal, which we're very much looking forward to, we might share with you the music, the theme song for World Youth Day coming up next year in Portugal. And we'll be back very shortly. Again, do text or email, do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, and do kindly stay with us as Rafaella will share with us lots of good news from the work in the World Family of Radio Maria. So thanks, Joel. Back very shortly after this piece of music.
Spread our wings, and here we are, and with Mary proclaiming our yes, we seek to serve and follow the will of the Lord our Father. Chiamati ad essere come Cristo Gesù, vogliamo dare, diventare docili assim, essere come Maria. Todos vão ouvir a nossa voz, levantemos os braços, à pressa no ar. Jesus vive e não nos deixa sós, não mais deixaremos de amar. Tu que buscas saber quién eres, parte a descubrir de la reina que vi.
Ven con nosotros a mirar más allá
De lo que haces y que no te deja de ir y amar. Oublie le passé, ne dis pas non, écoute dans ton cœur et pars sans peur sur cette mission. Todos vão ouvir a nossa voz, levantemos os braços, à pressa no ar. Jesus vive e não nos deixa sós, não mais deixaremos de amar.
È stata Maria ad accogliere per prima la grande sorpresa della vita per sempre. Fiduciosa e semplice vuole ricevere il grande mistero di un Dio che è per te.
Siempre per me, no puedo callar, no puedo dejar de cantar mi Señor. Cuenta conmigo, no más callaré. Todos vão ouvir a nossa voz, levantemos os braços, à pressa no ar. Jesus vive
there you are. It's a very upbeat track. That's the theme music there for World Youth Day coming up in Portugal next year. So we do hope to be able to connect in. And Radio Maria has started, as you know, this past year in Portugal. And we had the Rosary from Fatima there on May the 13th, which was our birthday, in fact, too. And in communion with the World Family of Radio Maria. Speaking of the World Family, sitting next to me now, we welcome him back after a long absence. Rafaelle Galati, buongiorno and welcome.
Buongiorno, good morning everyone, and I'm so happy to come here again to Radio Maria Island.
Good, and Rafaelle, for all of you who are new, listening in or watching in, is the European representative on behalf of the World Family of Radio Maria, and you supervise and I suppose help and support the 30 plus radio stations in Europe and a few others besides.
Yeah, in this moment in Europe we have 31 Radio Maria. And I try to help the project in our old continent and also in other two radios, Radio Maria Armenia and Radio Maria Nazareth in Israel. So it's a very huge family and we are growing.
So I wake up every day with just enough headaches for one radio station, and you wake up with enough headaches for 33 radios.
Yeah, but it's incredible and it's amazing to see in so many different countries, in so many different languages, in so many different cultures, the same spirit and the same faith. It's a miracle.
Sure, and the same grace and fruitfulness as well. That the idea of Radio Maria as prayer, catechesis, human formation in the native language, the native culture, helping people tremendously in faith.
Yeah, exactly. The base of the project, the charisma, the values, and the mission is always the same. And it's so incredible how this project that was born in Italy then can find the right place and can develop in a very particular way in each country. And I really, after 20 years of service in this missionary project, every day I learn something new. And if I take a look back in the last 20 years, it seems that I started a few days ago.
Right. That's interesting that the time flies. Certainly it's so intense and so busy and so active, and there's such grace flowing. It's a great privilege to be part of this instrument from heaven, really, for our times.
Yes. It's not a human project. Huh? I think that your listeners, our listeners, know perfectly that Radio Maria is a sort of project that heaven gave in our hands, and now we have this big responsibility. But it's at the same time a sort of deep joy in our hearts. And if you don't feel this joy, maybe it's not the right place for you and for the listeners, because I know and I'm sure that also listeners of Radio Maria Island feel that it is a gift, and they feel that only with your help and your prayers and also with your donations this project can go on. And it's I have a lot of things, I have a lot of experience coming from different countries, not only in Europe, because I visited, for example, Radio Maria in Philippines, Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea, Radio Maria in Colombia, and in every country, in every Radio Maria, I had a very great experience and very, very strong testimonies by the listeners and by the volunteers. Because, Father Eamonn, Radio Maria is not mine, it's not yours, it's the radio of the Holy Mary, for sure, but it's the radio of the listeners and volunteers. You are the owners, huh? You
Sure.
are the boss.
Correct. And we are at your service.
Yes, always.
Have you any little small update about Radio Maria in the Ukraine? What is the situation?
Yeah, I'm in a personal contact with the priest director, Father Alexei, and we had last week a Skype call together. We know that the situation in the capital city, Kiev, where we have the headquarters of Radio Maria, for the moment, the situation is almost under control. We had some attacks and bomb attacks to some repeaters and antenna in the countries. We had 3 weeks of silence of the signal in some regions, but we reactivated the signal. Just in one area is not possible, and was not possible for us to reactivate the radio. But what is very important is that Father Alexei and some collaborators spent all the last 1-2 months in the radio, physically in the radio.
Sleeping in the building,
Yeah, and they promised the listeners Radio Maria will not stop. The programs will continue to stay close to you. And I think it is one of the strongest signs that Radio Maria could give to the people, not only for the Ukrainian people, but for all the people. And also the Church recognized that the presence of Radio Maria in this moment in Ukraine has a role and a big responsibility. Also, we hope for the peace. Because
sure, to pray and keep praying and to foster reconciliation, that there wouldn't be the temptation, I suppose, to anger or revenge or these things.
Yeah, and the presence of Radio Maria also in Belarus and in Russia is a very, very, very strong sign. It's a presence of the gospel. This Radio Maria represent the spread of the gospel and the message of peace of Christ. And I spoken also with the team of Radio Maria Russia, the coordinator Stanislav and the president of the association, Mr. Makharov, and they told me a very, very particular thing, that all the media in Russia are not allowed to say that there is the war. Just military operation in Ukraine. And this is why, if you don't have the war, you don't or you can't pray for the peace. So, at the microphone of Radio Maria Russia, they can pray for the peace, because there's no war. But in the little chapel of the radio in St. Petersburg city, every day the volunteers and the team are praying for the peace. And we are in a sort of communion, spiritual communion with them.
Sure. Well, they have to work within the confines, obviously, of the political situation. Wow, that sounds difficult. But at the same time, a beautiful presence, a kind of like a little lighthouse. I like that image for the people and support for them. It's good to hear, because Our Lady is working away, kind of under the surface a little bit, and the work is continuing.
And I think, Father Eamonn and their listeners, that when you pray for Radio Maria Ireland, you pray for all the Radio Marias. And when you give your time as a volunteer for Radio Maria Ireland, you are giving your time for all the Radio Marias. And when you give your donations, are not only for the daily life and the daily costs of the radio, electricity, website, technical equipment, transmission of the signal, microphone, and so on, but you are helping the project all over the world, in particular in those countries where people want Radio Maria. We receive at the World Family of Radio Maria in Italy so many requests. Please come to my village, please come to my country, also by the bishops. Please come to my diocese. Because really Radio Maria is an instrument, is a tool for the Church, and we collaborate with the Church, with the Catholic Church. And also a lot of bishops know very well that Radio Maria is a great tool, in particular in the countries where no media or very few media, where it's not possible for the priest to go every day for the celebration of the Holy Mass, but they can celebrate the Mass at the microphone, and the prayer, the Mass, can be lived by the people in so many regions, around so many kilometers.
Amazing. And in fact, in practice, we've seen some little fruits. That the retired Archbishop of Johannesburg was in touch with us here recently, and I put him on to Bernhard to see could there establish a little link. He was anxious to get Radio Maria activated in South Africa. And had been listening to us here and, made the connection. And I don't know where that's got to now, but at least it was a step. And there's another listener in Offaly. I phoned her back there, and I'm anxious to get her back on the microphone. She went to visit Australia, and her husband, who's a doctor in Melbourne, was anxious to help Father Sam in making some connections for him in Radio Maria in Australia too. So it's Ireland is a sort of missionary by it's in our blood to be missionary. So.
And one of the 5 values of Radio Maria is the missionary spirit. And I really think that the missionary spirit is inside our DNA and also in our listeners. Because we are employees, we are humble servants of this radio and for this project. But the listeners and the volunteers really are the real missionaries of Radio Maria. Because I'm always so shocked when I see people coming to the radio, spending and offering their time, maybe after the daily work, maybe after so many things to do at home with the families, with the children, with the husband, with the parents, and they give time for this project. And they give money, donations for this project. And it's something that can be explained, Explain, sorry. My English, Father.
Your English is way better than my Italian.
But I promise that I'm improving my English. And it's something that you can explain in a very normal way. It's something that is just given by the heaven. And so thank you, dear listeners, because every pound, every euro that you give, that you offer, is a sign of your little or big sacrifice for Radio Maria. And we can go on all over the world, I repeat, in the 5 continents, just thanks to your help. So thank you very much.
Yes, indeed, we're always so grateful. And I might, while I'm with my listeners here, our good friends, to thank the World Family of Radio Maria too, because I'm constantly reminding everybody, regular listeners will know how indebted we are to the World Family from the very outset. Radio Maria in Italy and Radio Maria in Germany, I think particularly, but by way of just funding from ordinary listeners like you, ordinary listeners, who, because those radios are doing so well, are able to extend that help to us to enable us to grow towards independence. And as you were saying at our assembly meeting last night, we had our big powwow here last night and all the chiefs were gathered, that in time, please God, sooner rather than later, we can help to give some of that back into the World Family by way of being a net contributor to the ongoing well-being and growth of Radio Maria too.
I remember that during our last interview here at the microphone more than 2 years ago, we explained that starting from Italy, each Radio Maria started thanks to the listeners and the donors from other countries. Because when we received the call from Ireland, please come and try to start the project of Radio Maria also in our country, it was not possible to have everything ready. No studios, no offices, no employees, no people, no association. So we moved step by step together with the World Family of Radio Maria, and thanks to the generosity and the love of listeners coming from other countries, from Germany, from Italy, but also coming from Africa or South America, was possible for us to start the project here. And now you have the responsibility, to grow and to help other Project Maria, because people all over the world need the gospel. Maybe sometimes they don't express openly this need, but we feel this need. People, young families, the children, but also the adults, they really need to feel the gospel and the message of Jesus Christ close to them. And Radio Maria is just a tool, is a humble tool that tries every day to spread the gospel and to evangelize.
Amen to that. And we've seen it here. We have a WhatsApp group in our own, sort of among ourselves, our feedback group, and every day there's positive messages of feedback and encouragement and how people enjoy listening to that or enjoy the prayer or sharing with us. And anytime we write to all our donors who write into us. On the back of the letter, we don't waste the paper. We put a list of all the latest feedback of the positive influence and blessings that the radio is bringing. And you're going to share a little story with us from the Book of Testimonies. Yes.
I know that now you have also the videos, so I can show also at the camera. Sure. This is a very, very special little book The title is Radio Maria Testimonies. Listeners from all over the world tell their experiences. And the Will family realized this very little book last year or 2 years ago, more or less.
Yeah, it's worth around longer than that, yeah.
And it's a sort of collection of very humble, simple, but incredible testimonies by the listeners. European, Latin America, Northern America, Asia, Oceania, Africa. And I took this book with me because there is a very little testimony. Is a letter that a young man from Austria, the name is Andreas, Austria, he sent to Radio Maria for his mom. And sorry for the pronunciation, but I'd like to share with you and to read this very short testimony because this testimony touched my heart in a very special way because, you know, Radio Maria is the radio of our mom, our Holy Mary. And the mom always in our life has or had a very special role, no? And it's very interesting that this young man sent an email, an email or a letter to Radio Maria, and just to express and to share to her mom what he felt during this experience in the prison. That is always a very strong and bad experience. So I'd like to read, okay?
Please do.
So, Andreas from Austria. Hi, Mom. This is your son Andreas speaking. First of all, I wish you all the best for Mother's Day. I love you very much and would like to thank you with my whole heart. I know it's very hard for you because I haven't been close to you for many years. But soon the time will come when I'll come back to you. It's always a joy for me when you come to visit, but it also makes me very sad when I look into your eyes and feel how unhappy you are. Even if you always say that everything is okay, as your son, I know it isn't so. While I've been in prison, I've had enough time to reflect, and I promise you that after my release, I will not make you worry anymore. I want to make you happy. I want to see your eyes shine again. Just summing up, I want to wish you all the best for Mother's Day, and I thank God for protecting you and giving you strength. I love you very much. Very simple, but so strong. Huh?
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, and I repeat, it's a miracle if we think that this young man, Andreas, sent this letter to Radio Maria, because Radio Maria became the instrument to reach his mom and to tell something to his mom. And I think that this is one of the big service of Radio Maria. You have Radio Maria at your service. You have Radio Maria in your hands. You can pray with us. You can send message to the people that you love. You can pray for the people that you love. And what else?
But what more do you want, as they say?
Yeah.
That is a lovely book of testimonies, and I've been long since meaning to print it and circulate it and give it as a gift maybe to our listeners and benefactors, because it's full of great stories. I've actually, it's probably a couple of years when it first came out, have went through them all during my Chatechesis one at a time and share them. There's one or two from Ireland that I sent in at the time as well. 46 different radio stations contributed to the book, so there's stories from all over the world like that. And the beautiful thing, Rafaelle, is since actually, and it's happened over the last year or so, we've begun to get correspondence from prisoners here in Ireland too. And the letters are very beautiful and very moving like that. Because we're on Sairview on the television, and they're allowed a small television in their cells, they can tune into Radio Maria on the TV. It's because they probably, they wouldn't have internet access. I think that probably wouldn't be allowed. But it's been a great blessing for some, and we've even sent literature into prisons where some prisoners have passed them around the other prisoners too. So like the good that can flow from that, and as you rightly pick that story, into their families as well,
Yeah, and we know, for example, in Italy, we are losing the time and the occasion and the will to pray in the family. A lot of time you don't have enough time. You have to work very hard. Your children or your sons and daughters at school, and then to the sports, and then and there's no time for a common prayer. In Italy, I remember when I was young that before lunch or before dinner, every day a short prayer together. Now you don't have time. Or maybe the members of the family are not in the same place or at home at the same time. And Radio Maria gives this opportunity to pray. And if you are not all together at the same moment, you can pray. You as father, you as mother, you as son or daughter, or brothers and sisters, you can pray with Radio Maria for your family, for your parents, for your children. And the prayer is really the first and the most important gift that you can give also for Radio Maria or to Radio Maria. And the prayer can change the world. Really. In this time, speaking with Father Alexei of Radio Maria Ukraine, he told me, in this moment, we are not able to do so many things. We can go outside, we can't meet the people. It's very dangerous also to go outside when the alarm for the bombs is ringing. So what can we do? Pray and broadcast programs for the people, for the listeners. And you can pray with us, because I repeat and I underline again, the owners of Radio Maria are listeners and volunteers. And we, just simple employees and collaborators or co-workers are at your service.
Very good. I forgot to mention earlier that our visit to Wexford last weekend started meeting Ukrainian refugees here now coming to Mass, which is terrific. And one lady, Olga, came up after Mass in a little church called Paul Fr down near Fethard in Wexford, a lovely part of the country. And she showed me on her phone pictures of her in Radio Maria in Kiev. She said, here I am. And she was delighted to make the connection here. And her English is quite good, but she's an opera singer. And I said, well, you have to come to Dublin and visit us here and share your talent with us too. And she spoke of there in New Ross, I don't know when she's going to share the information with me. They're having a public concert as a kind of fundraiser, I suppose, or awareness for the situation in the Ukraine and for the refugees, with featuring all Ukrainian music, kind of public. So it's nice that we can be an instrument to, again, forge a little friendship with the refugees in Ireland and to make that connection. And that it's just wonderful that Radio Maria is the bridge.
Yes.
So really, really marvellous.
Yes. And the listeners, Father, are not only the owners of the radio, they are also the promoters of the radio. So please share with other people around you, your colleagues, your families, your friends. Share the value of Radio Maria. Share your experience of Radio Maria. You are not in this little book, but you have, I'm sure, a great experience with Radio Maria, and try to involve people and to increase the number of listeners, because it's a gift, and we want to share this gift with more people as possible.
And I like to remind listeners too that it's a worldwide mission, and that the Radio Maria is present now in Erbil in Iraq, and broadcasting in Arabic to the Middle East, which is quite extraordinary in its own way, and also broadcasting in Mandarin to the Chinese people.
Yes.
And I wonder, is there any sort of feedback through those channels, or how can you see little shoots of growth, or is that mission bearing some fruit?
Yeah, it's not very easy because in China and in that area of the world, Catholic faith is not so big, it's not so strong, and also sometimes in some countries the political situation is not so favorable,
correct,
for Radio Maria. But with the technologies, so using internet streaming and sometimes the satellite, we started to broadcast in Mandarin language. The headquarters at the moment is in Rome, So we have a team of Chinese people in Rome, but we have in Macau, for example, some volunteers and some collaborators that are broadcasting some programs from there, from that area. And the work is not so easy. We have to work and to do a lot of things, but each step is something more in the right direction, in the right way. And in this moment, we have just some hundreds of listeners by internet, but the number is growing every month. And we pray that in the next future we hope to have the possibility, if not of a traditional frequency, FM or AM, to have groups of volunteers on the field, to have some collaborators that can broadcast from Chinese Catholic churches, maybe the Rosary, some prayers, the Holy Mass. And so we are growing. And we can grow thanks to the listeners and the donors of other countries, because at the moment we don't have so many listeners, but we understand that the presence of Radio Maria Mandarin language is and will be a very, very important will have a very important role in this process of evangelization in this area, very particular area of the world.
We met a young man. We were celebrating a little meal for Tara and Ruth. They were taking their leave of the radio. We miss you both, girls.
Yeah.
But we met a young man who he's Irish. Irish name he's given himself is Quiveen, which is the Irish for Kevin.
Okay.
I'm not sure what his Chinese name is, but he's from Hong Kong, and he's been here a number of years and involved with the Legion of Mary. But he's returning soon to Hong Kong to train for the priesthood, and so we've invited him out to Radio Maria here, and he'll be on Mary Stenson's program for the Legion, and very promising. And he apparently plays good Irish traditional music as well.
Wow.
So we'll see what talent he has. But we just love those kind of connections. Again, it's the Irish kind of missionary thing. We're such a small country that we kind of looking out and reaching out all the time in faith. And it's such a great blessing to be, and this is really where I come back to the listeners and get a final word from you of encouragement for all our friends to say, look, you are part of this mission.
Yeah, you are the missionaries. You are the missionaries, and you really have a role, and a crucial and so important role in the development of this spiritual project. It's not a human project, it's a miracle, and inside this miracle you have an active and cooperative part. Thank you for what you have done for Radio Maria, and thank for what you will do for Radio Maria. I repeat, the prayer is the most important thing, but you know very well that you can be in touch with Radio Maria. You can contact us by email, by phone, by WhatsApp, what you want, and you can start to help us as a volunteer, as a listener, and as a donor. So thank you very much, and I'm sure that Holy Mary and Jesus Christ and God are blessing you and are blessing us. So thank you so much.
Indeed, and thank you, Rafaelle. We're very grateful to you for coming to see us after so long away. COVID kept you away, but good to have you back. And he'll be giving us a good pep talk now a little bit later on and driving us onwards and forward with the mission. And we'll be delighted indeed to hear his wisdom and his counsel and advice. So thank you for joining us on air, Rafaelle.
Thank you, Father Eamonn, and thank you to the listeners. And ciao. See you next time.
Ciao, that's right. And do please convey our sincere thanks to all in the World family for the huge support that we enjoy. Very good. It's 12 o'clock now. Thank you very much for your company. We'll take our leave of you visually. Please stay with us, of course, audibly. We'll continue now and pause for our bells for our Angelus. We'll pray together our midday prayer.